Have you ever looked at the wildly successful people in the world and just wondered, what's their secret? For 25 years, a researcher named Napoleon Hill studied the most powerful minds of his day, and he found it. It wasn't their money, their connections, or their diplomas. Nope, it was something deeper, a secret that's been hiding in plain sight while most people struggle. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain.
So let's get right into it. Think about these titans of industry. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison. What was the one thing they all shared? The answer to that question, it's the real dividing line. The line between a life of achievement and a life of, well, just wishing things were different.
You see, the secret was a morning ritual. Sounds simple, I know, but it was an incredibly powerful practice they used to program their minds for success before the day even really began. They understood a fundamental law that most of us forget. The first few moments after you wake up can literally set the tone for winning or losing the entire day.
Okay, so what is this ritual actually designed to fix? Well, it tackles a huge problem, a problem that affects the vast majority of people and keeps them trapped in mediocrity. The number is pretty staggering, actually. Napoleon Hill figured that about 98% of people are held back by what he called a poverty of mind. Think about that. They wake up and immediately the same worries pop into their head. Fears about money, doubts about their own talent. They're defeated before they've even had their coffee. So, what is this poverty of mind, really? It's basically a mental habit. It's when you accept limits, worry, and fear as your default settings. And the scary part is, it creates this vicious cycle. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy where your dominant thoughts of doubt actually start to attract the exact things you're afraid of. It's the engine that powers a life of quiet desperation. And it really comes down to this choice. On one side, you have the victim of fate, always blaming circumstances, always living in doubt and fear. But on the other side, you have the master of fate, who operates from a place of personal power, of self-determination, of knowing that anything is possible. This ritual, this is the tool. It's the switch that's designed to flip you from one to the other.
So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, the core of the entire ritual is a set of 11 master phrases. And these aren't just empty words. Think of them as keys. Keys specifically designed to unlock the incredible power of your subconscious mind.
Let's take a look at a few of these. This set of 11 phrases, they're like the concentrated juice of a success philosophy, taken directly from people who built fortunes from nothing. Each one is a command, and when you speak it with real emotion, you begin to literally reprogram your mind for victory.
We've got to start with the most important one. I am the master of my fate. Now, this is not just a poetic line. It's a declaration of power. It's you telling yourself, telling the universe that you are done being pushed around by circumstance. You are the one writing your story now.
And this isn't just some nice idea. A guy named Charles M. Schwab started as a laborer in Carnegie's steel mills, making $1 a day. Every single morning, he'd look himself in the mirror and declare with total conviction that he was the master of his fate. He didn't just hope it, he commanded it. And he rose to become president of U.S. Steel, earning over $1 million a year back then. That's real power.
All right, the next phrase is all about focus. My definite chief aim guides my every action. See, most people fail because they never really decide what they want. They're like a ship with no rudder, just getting tossed around by the waves. This phrase, this is your rudder. It stops the aimless drifting. The perfect example of this is a man named Edwin C. Barnes. He showed up at Thomas Edison's laboratory looking like a tramp. No money, no contacts. But he had one thing, a burning, definite chief aim to become Edison's business partner. And that purpose was so intense, so visible in his eyes, that Edison gave him a chance. Why? Because Edison saw a man who had already made up his mind to win, no matter what.
This next one? Oh. This is for anybody who's ever been afraid to fail. I transform every failure into a stepping stone. This phrase builds what Hill called failure immunity. It's based on this profound truth that every single adversity, every setback, carries with it the seed of an equal or even greater opportunity. You just have to be willing to look for it.
And there is no better example of this than Abraham Lincoln's journey. His path to the White House was just littered with what anybody else would call epic failures. But for Lincoln, every single one of those defeats was just training. It was preparation. It was a necessary lesson to get him to his destiny. He wasn't failing. He was stepping up.
Okay, so you get the idea behind the phrases, but how do you actually use them? How do you really get them to program your mind? Let's get into the practical how-to steps of the ritual.
The process is simple, but you have to follow it exactly. Wake up 30 minutes early, find a private space where you can be alone, stand in front of a mirror, and then speak each of the 11 phrases out loud 3 times each. Now, here's the absolute key. You have to say them with emotion. Without feeling, the words are dead. You have to feel the power in them. Then, after you're done, just stay quiet for 5 minutes. Let it all soak in.
But here's the deal. None of this works without consistency. You have to do this ritual for a minimum of 30 consecutive days. And if you miss a single day, the count starts over. Why? Because you are literally forging new pathways in your brain. You're overriding decades of negative programming. And that takes commitment.
So, we've laid it all out. The problem, the solution, the exact method. And at this point, the power and the responsibility, it shifts. It's all on you now.
This quote from President Coolidge just says it all, doesn't it? Talent isn't enough. The world is full of talented people who've gone nowhere. Education isn't enough. The world is full of educated failures. This ritual, it demands persistence. It demands determination. Because those two things, they're unstoppable.
And I want you to really think about this. You have the exact same 24 hours in your day as Carnegie, Ford, and Edison had in theirs. The raw material of time that's distributed equally to absolutely everyone.
The only variable, the only real difference between a life of major achievement and a life of mediocrity is how you decide to use the first 30 minutes of your day. They used it to program their minds for success. The only question is, will you?
And really, that's what this all boils down to. You've been given the keys to the kingdom. The same keys used by some of the most powerful and successful people in modern history. So the only question that's left is, are you going to use them to open the door? The choice, like always, is yours.